sideways in your chair and lean on one hip. It might feel comfortable at first, even familiar, but over time, this uneven posture can create a quiet storm inside your body. When you consistently sit with more weight on one side, your pelvis starts to tilt. Think of your pelvis as the base of your body. It holds everything together. When it shifts out of alignment, the spine, hips, and muscles all try to adjust to that imbalance. This can lead to pressure on nerves and veins, especially those running through the lower back and legs. That pressure doesn't just cause discomfort. It can slow down blood circulation, irritate nerves, and increase the risk of poor blood return from your legs back to the heart. Some people who sit like this often experience tingling in one leg, a numb foot, or stiffness in the lower back. Those are signals your body is sending, little nudges telling you something's out of balance. And for older adults who may already have some degree of joint wear or reduced flexibility, this kind of uneven sitting can quietly increase the risk of chronic back pain or even circulation issues that lead to swelling and clotting. So, what's the fix? Awareness is key. The next time you catch yourself favoring one side, gently shift your weight and plant both feet flat on the floor. If that feels strange, try placing a small rolled towel under your feet or using a cushion to support your back and hips evenly. If you're sitting on a soft couch, add a firm pillow under your hips to keep your pelvis more balanced. It's also helpful to stand and walk around for a minute every so often. Just moving resets your posture and helps your body return to a more neutral, healthy position. If you've been sitting off-center for years, don't worry. It's never too late to create new habits that feel just as natural. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about giving your body a fair, balanced foundation to rest on. Next, let's explore a sitting choice many people make without thinking, especially at home, that can quietly restrict blood flow more than you'd expect. Something so ordinary, most people never give it a second thought. The kind of chair you're sitting on. Maybe it's that cozy armchair in the living room that sinks when you sit, or the stool in the kitchen that's just the right height for your morning coffee. But here's something you might not realize. Sitting in a chair that's too low, too soft, or doesn't support your back can quietly affect your circulation in ways that add up over time. When your chair is too low, your knees often rise higher than your hips. That might feel comfortable at first, but it puts pressure on the underside of your thighs. Right there, under your thighs, are major veins and arteries responsible for carrying blood back up toward your heart. When they're compressed, even just a little, the blood flow slows down. This slowdown can cause blood to collect in the lower legs and feet, which over time may lead to swelling. In more serious cases, the formation of blood clots. Now add in poor back support. Without it, most of us naturally start to slouch. That slouched posture pulls your pelvis out of alignment, rounds your back, and puts strain on your spine. It can also subtly shift your weight in a way that compresses blood vessels in your lower body. For older adults, especially those who already deal with reduced mobility or vein health, this combination creates the perfect storm for circulation issues. But don't worry, you don't have to give up your favorite seat. Instead, make a few gentle changes. Start by checking the height. When seated, your hips should be level with or slightly higher than your knees. If your chair is too low, add a firm cushion to boost yourself up. If your feet don't reach the ground comfortably, place a footrest or a stack of books beneath them to support your legs. For your back, a small cushion or rolled towel placed behind your lower back can help maintain natural spine alignment and prevent slouching. It's also a good idea to get up every 30 minutes or so. Stretch your legs. Take a short walk, even if it's just around the room. Comfort doesn't have to come at the cost of circulation. With just a few thoughtful adjustments, your favorite chair can support both your relaxation and your health. Now, let's move to one last habit. One that's more about your surroundings than your posture, but still affects your body in ways you might not expect. Now let's talk about something that isn't so much about how you sit, but where you sit, and how that environment affects your body. Have you ever spent time sitting in a chilly room? Maybe near a window in winter, or under an air conditioner that blows a bit too strong. It can feel refreshing at first, especially if you tend to run warm. But sitting in a cold environment for too long can quietly impact your circulation in ways most people don't expect. When your body feels cold, especially the outer parts like your arms, legs, hands, and feet, it reacts by narrowing the blood vessels near the surface. This is your body's natural way of trying to conserve heat and protect your core temperature. But when those vessels narrow, the flow of blood slows down. And when blood moves more slowly, especially in the extremities, it increases the chances of clotting and poor circulation. For older adults, this effect can be even more pronounced. As we age, blood vessels become less flexible, and the body's ability to regulate temperature becomes less efficient. Add to that the fact that many seniors take medications that can affect circulation or blood pressure, and the impact of cold on the body becomes even more important to consider. You might notice that after sitting in a cold room for a while, your fingers or toes feel numb, your legs feel heavy, or you get sudden chills. Those are your body's warning signs that blood flow isn't where it should be. And while it might feel harmless in the moment, that long-term reduction in circulation, especially if repeated often, can increase the risk of cardiovascular issues, including stroke. So what can you do? The solution is simple. Stay warm. That doesn't mean blasting the heat all day. It can be as easy as using a lap blanket, wearing cozy socks or slippers, or dressing in layers that are easy to add or remove. If you're sitting near a window or draft, use a curtain or block the draft with a rolled towel. Even small changes like sipping warm drinks or placing a heating pad near your feet can gently encourage better circulation. Comfort isn't just about how you feel, it's about how your body functions. Keeping warm helps your blood move freely, your heart work less hard, and your brain stay sharp. Now that we've explored these 6 quiet habits, let's take a moment to wrap things up and talk about what you can do next to stay safe, comfortable, and healthy every day. So now that we've gently uncovered these everyday sitting habits, maybe you're thinking back to how you've been sitting today, or yesterday, or for years. And that's okay. This isn't about guilt, it's about awareness. Knowing that something as small as how and where you sit could quietly affect your health gives you power. The power to choose a little differently, one moment at a time. Your body has carried you through a lifetime of memories, challenges, laughter, and love. It deserves to be supported in return, with comfort, with care, and with a few simple adjustments that can make a world of difference. Whether it's standing up more often, shifting your posture, or warming your favorite reading corner, every small step counts. And you don't have to do it all at once. Just pick one thing that feels doable and start there. Your future self will thank you, quietly, every day, in the form of stronger circulation, fewer aches, and greater peace of mind. If you found this video helpful, leave a little 1 in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Health 365. Have you ever heard of someone who went for a walk in the evening and never came back? It's heartbreaking, but it happens more often than you'd imagine. A quiet evening stroll, something so ordinary and peaceful, turning into a moment that changes everything. And for many older adults, the danger doesn't always come from a fall or traffic. It's something deeper, something happening inside the body. silently. Now, I know what you're thinking. Walking is supposed to be healthy, right? It absolutely is. But not all walks are created equal. The time of day, the weather, even how you move your arms or when you last ate, these can silently turn a harmless stroll into a health hazard. So today, we're going to talk about something most people overlook. 6 walking habits that can actually raise your risk of stroke, especially as we get older. You might be surprised how small changes in your routine can make a big difference in keeping your heart and brain safe. But don't worry. This isn't one of those preachy health talks. Think of this like a friendly chat, just you and me, figuring out how to walk smarter, not harder. Some of what you hear might sound familiar, but today we're digging into the why and what you can do to stay safe. If you've ever gone on an evening walk, I want you to drop a 1 in the comments. If not, hit us with a 0. And don't forget to subscribe to Health 365 so we can keep bringing you tips that truly matter. All right, let's dive into the first thing that might be making your evening walks riskier than they should be. Something a lot of people enjoy. Evening walks. They feel peaceful. The sun is down, and everything seems to slow down a little. But here's something surprising. Not all evening walks are good for your health. In fact, walking too late at night, especially after 8 or 9 p.m., could be quietly raising your stroke risk. You see, our bodies follow something called a circadian rhythm, a natural clock that tells us when to be active and when to rest. As the sun goes down, our bodies start to wind down too. But when you head out for a walk late in the evening, especially brisk walks that get your heart rate up, it can actually send mixed signals to your brain. Instead of calming down, your sympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for your fight or flight response, kicks in. Your heart beats faster, blood pressure rises, and instead of preparing for rest, your body gets pumped up like it's ready to run a marathon. For older adults, this sudden stimulation late at night can be risky. Higher nighttime blood pressure is one of the biggest hidden threats. Many strokes happen during sleep, and a spike in pressure just before bed might be part of the reason why. In fact, sleep specialists and cardiologists have noticed that patients who regularly exercise late at night often report poorer sleep quality and, in some cases, irregular heart rhythms. Think about it. Have you ever gone for a walk after dinner and then found it hard to fall asleep? That restless feeling, maybe a pounding in your chest, or even waking up at night sweating? That could be your body's way of saying it's overstimulated. And it's not just about sleep. When you walk late, especially after a big meal, your body is doing double duty, digesting food and keeping your muscles moving. This splits the blood flow between your digestive system and your limbs, which can reduce the amount of oxygen reaching your brain. For some folks, especially those with a history of high blood pressure or heart problems, this might tip the balance toward dizziness, lightheadedness, or even more serious events. So, what can you do? Aim to take your walks earlier in the evening, ideally before sunset. Even better, try a gentle, calming walk in the early morning when the air is fresh and your body is naturally waking up. That way, you still get the benefits of movement without messing with your internal clock. Now, let's talk about another walking habit that seems harmless but might actually be hurting your brain without you even realizing it. Have you ever noticed how your body feels during a walk when you're slouched over or staring down at the ground? It might seem like a small thing, but your walking posture could quietly be affecting the amount of oxygen reaching your brain. When we walk with poor posture, head tilted forward, shoulders hunched, arms stiff, or not swinging naturally, it messes with more than just how we look. It actually disrupts blood circulation. You see, our body was designed to move in harmony. Proper posture allows our chest to open, our lungs to fill more easily, and our heart to pump efficiently. But when we're bent over, even just a little, that natural flow is interrupted. Less blood flow to the brain means less oxygen and fewer nutrients getting where they need to go. For older adults, this can lead to feeling lightheaded, off balance, or even faint. In some cases, if a person already has underlying vascular issues, it may increase the risk of a mini-stroke, or TIA, what doctors call a transient ischemic attack. It might only last a few minutes, but it's often a warning sign that something more serious could be on the horizon. There was a study conducted at the University of Tsukuba in Japan, where researchers looked at how posture affected blood flow during walking. They found that when people walked with a forward-leaning posture and limited arm movement, blood flow to the brain dropped significantly compared to those who walked upright and with a natural swing in their stride. That's a big deal, especially for seniors who may already be at risk for circulation problems. Think about your last walk. Were your shoulders relaxed? Were your arms moving freely by your sides? Or were you clutching a phone, looking down, maybe walking with your hands in your pockets? It may seem small, but making a simple shift in how you carry yourself can do wonders for your circulation. Next time you head out, try this. Stand tall, roll your shoulders back, keep your gaze straight ahead, and let your arms swing naturally. You'll not only feel more confident, but you'll also help your brain get the oxygen it needs to keep you sharp and steady. Now let's explore a walking habit that almost everyone does without thinking, and it has everything to do with what's on your plate. Walking right after a meal might sound like a great idea. A lot of people believe it helps digestion or burns off a few calories from dinner. But here's the thing. If you hit the sidewalk before your body's had a chance to digest, you might be putting your brain at risk without even realizing it. After you eat, your body shifts its focus. Blood rushes to your digestive system to help break down the food, absorb nutrients, and get everything working smoothly. That's why you might feel a little sleepy after a big meal. It's your body redirecting energy inward. But when you start walking too soon, especially at a brisk pace, your muscles start competing for that same blood flow. Your legs are saying, "Hey, we need more oxygen down here," while your stomach is shouting, "I'm still working." And in the middle of that tug of war? Your brain. When your blood flow is split between digestion and physical activity, the amount of oxygen reaching your brain can drop. That might lead to dizziness, blurred vision, even nausea or confusion. For many people, it just feels like being off. But for folks with a history of high blood pressure, heart issues, or atherosclerosis, those invisible blockages in your arteries, it could trigger a more serious event, like a mini-stroke, or even a full-blown one. In fact, in a case series published in the Journal of Geriatric Cardiology, several older patients reported lightheadedness or near-fainting episodes shortly after walking post-meal. When monitored, doctors noticed a significant dip in cerebral blood flow during those walks, meaning the brain just wasn't getting what it needed. A friend of mine, Harold, 72, used to love his evening routine: eat at 6, walk at 6:30. Over time, he started noticing headaches and a weird, fluttery feeling in his chest halfway through his usual mile. Turns out, he wasn't giving his body enough time to process dinner. Once he shifted his walks to 45 minutes after eating, those symptoms stopped. So here's the takeaway. Walking is great, but timing matters. Give yourself at least 45 minutes, maybe even an hour after eating, especially if it's a large or heavy meal. And if you're feeling full or bloated, it's totally okay to skip the walk altogether that day. There's always tomorrow. Now, let's move on to something outside your control, but fully within your ability to prepare for. The environment you walk in could be quietly working against you. Let's step outside for a moment. Literally. Because when it comes to walking safely, the temperature around you can be just as important as your pace or your posture. Think back to the last time you went for a walk on a scorching summer afternoon or during a chilly winter morning. It probably didn't feel quite right, did it? Extreme weather, whether it's heat over 95 degrees or cold under 60 degrees, puts extra stress on your body, especially your heart and blood vessels. When it's hot, your blood vessels dilate to help you cool down. This sounds like a good thing, but for older adults, especially those with high blood pressure or heart conditions, it can lead to dehydration and a drop in blood pressure that leaves you dizzy or faint. And if you're already on medications like diuretics or beta blockers, that effect can be even stronger. Now, let's flip the temperature dial to cold. In chilly weather, your blood vessels do the opposite. They constrict. That tightening of your arteries can cause your blood pressure to spike suddenly, especially if you're walking uphill or into a strong wind. This sudden pressure surge is risky for people with narrowed arteries or a history of stroke. The American Heart Association has even pointed out that the risk of stroke tends to rise during the colder months, in part due to these vascular reactions. There was a study published in Stroke, a journal by the AHA, showing that people over 65 are more likely to have strokes on days with large temperature swings. The body struggles to adjust, and the cardiovascular system takes the hit. Let me tell you about Mary, a 68-year-old retired teacher I know. She used to walk every morning, rain or shine. One winter, she stepped out for her usual route in 40-degree weather, thinking she'd be fine. 10 minutes in, she felt tightness in her chest and had to sit down. Luckily, a neighbor saw her and got help. Turned out her blood pressure had spiked dangerously from the cold and exertion combined. The good news: you can take control of this. In hot weather, walk early in the morning or closer to sunset, and always bring water. In cold weather, layer up, warm up indoors first, and keep your walks shorter. And most importantly, if the weather feels off, it's okay to skip the walk. Your safety comes first. Coming up next, we're going to look at how the ground beneath your feet might be doing more harm than you think. Something we rarely pay attention to. The ground beneath our feet. It might seem harmless, just part of your neighborhood or favorite walking trail. But uneven, sloped, or bumpy terrain can quietly raise your risk of something far more serious than a twisted ankle. When you walk on hilly or rough surfaces, your body has to work harder to stay balanced. Your heart rate jumps up quicker, your breathing becomes more intense, and your leg muscles have to engage more deeply to keep you steady. That extra exertion may feel like a good workout, but for seniors, especially those with high blood pressure or fragile blood vessels, it can turn risky fast. Here's why. Sudden changes in physical effort can cause sharp spikes in blood pressure. And if you're already dealing with weakened arteries, that sudden surge could potentially lead to a rupture, what doctors call a hemorrhagic stroke. Even worse, if there's plaque buildup in your arteries, those extra physical demands could loosen a piece of that plaque, creating a clot that might travel to the brain and cause an ischemic stroke. A group of researchers from the University of California once studied older adults walking on different types of surfaces. They found that when participants walked uphill or on uneven terrain, their systolic blood pressure increased significantly more than when walking on flat ground. That sudden rise might only last a few minutes, but it's enough to trigger real danger in someone with vascular vulnerabilities. I remember Jim, a 74-year-old former contractor who loved hiking in the hills behind his house. One day, after a particularly steep climb, he suddenly felt weak and confused. He sat down, tried to catch his breath, but something wasn't right. He was rushed to the ER and diagnosed with a minor stroke. His doctor later explained that the combination of effort and heat had pushed his blood pressure too high, too fast. To protect yourself, choose flat. even walking paths whenever possible, local parks, walking tracks, or quiet sidewalks. If you really love the challenge of a hill, take it slow. Stop often. Monitor how you feel. And if your doctor has told you that your blood pressure is unstable, avoid steep paths altogether. Next, we're going to cover one final walking mistake. And this one's incredibly common, yet so easy to fix. It has everything to do with what you're not doing before your walk. A habit that almost no one talks about, yet it affects every single walk you take. Hydration, or more specifically, the lack of it. Walking while even slightly dehydrated can quietly set the stage for something far more serious than dry lips or fatigue. It can thicken your blood, raise your risk of clots, and even increase your chance of a nighttime stroke. Here's how it works. When you're not well hydrated, your blood becomes more concentrated, thicker, if you will. That thicker blood flows more slowly and has a greater tendency to form clots. For someone who's older, especially with a history of high cholesterol or vascular disease, this can create the perfect storm. And the danger doesn't always hit right away. It often creeps in after your walk, when your body is trying to rest and recover. Nighttime is when your body naturally slows down, your heart rate drops, and blood flow becomes more sluggish. If your blood is already thick from dehydration earlier in the day, that slower flow can allow tiny clots to form. And if one of those clots travels to your brain while you sleep, it can trigger a stroke without warning. That's why so many strokes happen in the early morning hours. There was a study published in the journal Neurology that found a clear link between low fluid intake and increased risk of ischemic stroke in older adults. People who consistently drank less than 1.5 liters of water per day had significantly higher clot formation markers in their blood work. It's a silent risk, but it's very real. I remember one woman, Betty, 76, who was always on top of her fitness. She walked every afternoon, stayed active, ate well, but she hated drinking water, said it made her feel bloated. One night, after her usual evening walk and dinner, she felt fine. But early the next morning, she woke up with slurred speech and weakness on one side. She'd had a minor stroke. Her doctor told her later that chronic dehydration, especially after exercise, had likely contributed. So here's what you can do. Before you go for a walk, drink a glass of water. After you return, drink another. It doesn't have to be a gallon, but around 8 to 16 ounces on either side of your walk can go a long way. And remember, if you're sweating a lot or walking in hot weather, you'll need even more. Now that we've explored these 6 surprising habits, let's wrap up with a warm thought and a few words that I hope will stick with you long after this video ends. Walking is a gift, simple, free, and healing. But like any gift, it comes with responsibility. The way we walk, when we walk, and how we prepare our bodies for it can either support our health or slowly chip away at it. The habits we've talked about today may seem small, even harmless, but over time they carry real weight, especially as we grow older and our bodies become more sensitive to change. Remember, walking should bring peace, not pressure. With just a few thoughtful adjustments, staying hydrated, choosing the right time, paying attention to posture, you can keep your walks safe, energizing, and truly beneficial. No need for drastic changes, just a little more awareness and a lot more care. If this video helped you see something in a new light, drop a 1 in the comments. If you've never thought about these risks before, give us a 0. And know that today is a perfect day to start fresh. You might be doing everything right, eating well, staying active, and exercising regularly. But what if I told you that some common workouts could quietly increase your risk of stroke? Yes, even exercises that look safe, like sit-ups, planks, or yoga, can turn dangerous if you're over 60 and not careful. It's not about avoiding movement. It's about knowing which movements to watch out for. As we age, our bodies respond differently. Blood pressure shifts faster. Balance isn't as reliable. And certain motions can strain your brain, blood vessels, or heart more than you realize. A quick bend, a wrong twist, or even holding your breath during a workout. These things can trigger dizziness, sudden drops in blood pressure, or worse, a stroke. I've seen too many seniors fall victim to this. People who thought they were being healthy. That's why today, I want to walk you through 9 specific exercises that may be putting your brain and body at risk, especially if you have high blood pressure or poor circulation. If you're over 60 or care about someone who is, this video could be a lifesaver. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever felt dizzy or lightheaded after a workout? And don't forget to subscribe to Health 365. We're here to help you move safer, feel stronger, and stay independent for years to come. Now, let's start with the first hidden danger, an everyday stretch that seems harmless, but could cause sudden drops in blood pressure. Let's start with something incredibly common: bending forward quickly from a standing position. You know, maybe to pick something up off the floor, or to tie your shoe in a rush. It seems like no big deal, right? But for older adults, this one simple movement can lead to a dangerous chain reaction inside the body. When you bend forward fast, especially without bracing yourself or bending your knees, blood rushes to your head very suddenly. In younger people, the body adjusts pretty quickly. But as we age, our cardiovascular system doesn't compensate as fast. That sudden change can cause a quick drop in blood pressure, what doctors call orthostatic hypotension. The result? You feel dizzy, lightheaded, or completely lose your balance. Some people black out entirely. And if you hit your head on the way down, the danger becomes even greater. A study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that older adults are significantly more prone to blood pressure drops after rapid positional changes. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a known risk factor for stroke and head injury. I remember talking with a gentleman who tripped in his garage while reaching for a box. He bent forward too fast, got dizzy, fell, and ended up with a concussion. All from what seemed like an everyday movement. Here's what you can do. When you need to bend forward, always take a second. Plant your feet firmly, bend your knees slightly, and come down slowly. Use a stable surface for support if you need it. There's absolutely no shame in that. Now, let's move gently from the floor to something just a bit higher up, your neck. Because what you do with it might surprise you even more. Have you ever tried to loosen up a stiff neck by giving it a quick twist or turning it side to side rapidly? It might feel good in the moment, like you're shaking off tension, but it can be much more dangerous than you think. You see, inside your neck run 2 very important arteries called the vertebral arteries. They supply blood directly to the brain, particularly the parts that control balance and coordination. When you whip your neck around too quickly, or do it repeatedly, especially in a strong or exaggerated way, you can actually compress or even slightly tear those arteries. That's not just uncomfortable, it can severely reduce the flow of oxygen-rich blood to your brain. There was a case reported in the New England Journal of Medicine where a man in his 60s experienced a stroke just minutes after rapidly twisting his neck during a stretching routine. It wasn't during a car accident or a fall. It was during a stretch. That's how delicate these vessels can be as we age. I met a woman at a senior center who used to do daily neck rolls first thing every morning. After a few weeks, she noticed she was getting dizzy spells and even blurred vision. Her doctor traced it back to those movements. She switched to gentler, slower head turns, and the symptoms disappeared. So here's the better way. Always move your head slowly and deliberately. No jerking, no snapping motions. If your neck feels stiff, apply warm compresses, gentle stretches, or even better, get it checked by a physical therapist who understands age-related vascular risks. Ready to hear about something many people think is making them stronger, but could be straining their brain instead? Let's talk weights. Weightlifting can be a fantastic way to stay strong and independent as we age, but only if it's done safely. One of the most overlooked dangers is lifting weights that are too heavy, or worse, holding your breath while doing it. When you lift something heavy and instinctively hold your breath, what's called the Valsalva maneuver, you're actually spiking the pressure inside your chest and head. Your blood pressure can shoot up rapidly, placing intense strain on the arteries in your brain. For older adults, especially those with high blood pressure or weaker blood vessels, that spike can be enough to trigger a stroke or even cause a vessel to rupture. In fact, a study from the American Heart Association showed that sudden blood pressure surges during heavy lifting were linked to an increased risk of intracranial hemorrhages, particularly in older gym-goers. I once heard from a retired firefighter who was staying active at his local gym. One day, he decided to challenge himself with a heavier barbell. Mid-lift, he felt a rush to his head, got dizzy, and nearly blacked out. His doctor later told him he had dangerously spiked his blood pressure by holding his breath under strain. So here's what you should do. Lift weights that feel challenging but manageable. Breathe continuously. Exhale as you lift. Inhale as you lower. And if you're unsure, always work with a trainer who understands how aging bodies respond differently. Now, if you've ever tried those upside-down yoga poses for better circulation, the next part might surprise you even more. Upside-down yoga poses like the shoulder stand or headstand might look graceful and relaxing, but they can be seriously risky, especially for older adults. These poses flip your entire body, sending a rush of blood toward your head. While some people claim it boosts circulation, the truth is, it can dangerously increase pressure inside your skull. When you're in an inverted position, the blood flow to your brain intensifies, and if you already have high blood pressure or weaker blood vessels, which is more common after age 60, that extra pressure can overwhelm your system. The risk isn't just theoretical. Neurologists have documented cases where seniors experienced vision disturbances, severe headaches, and even mini-strokes after attempting inverted poses without supervision. I remember a woman from a yoga class who proudly practiced shoulder stands every morning. But after a few weeks, she started getting pounding headaches and felt pressure behind her eyes. Her doctor warned her. The increased intracranial pressure from those poses was putting her at real risk. She switched to gentler stretches and noticed the symptoms disappeared. Instead of poses that flip you upside down, try legs up the wall. It's a calming alternative that supports circulation without the danger. And always let your instructor know about any medical conditions before starting a new routine. They can suggest modifications that work with your body, not against it. Now that we've looked at the risks of going upside down, let's take a jog forward. Literally. Because when you exercise matters just as much as how you do it. Evening workouts can feel peaceful. The gym is quieter, the air cooler, and it's a great way to shake off the day's stress. But for older adults, pushing yourself too hard late at night, especially with intense routines like high-speed running or HIIT, can backfire in serious ways. Here's why. Intense exercise stimulates your sympathetic nervous system, which is like flipping the body's on switch. That's fine during the day. But doing it too close to bedtime means your heart rate stays elevated, your blood pressure spikes, and your body stays in a state of alertness, exactly when it should be winding down. For people over 60, this late-night pressure can increase the risk of nighttime hypertension, a known factor in stroke while sleeping. A study from Hypertension Research found that late-evening high-intensity workouts can raise nighttime blood pressure levels significantly, even in healthy adults. That's why doctors now often recommend morning or early afternoon workouts for older individuals. I spoke with a retired teacher who used to run every night after dinner. Over time, she noticed she wasn't sleeping well, and once she even woke up dizzy with a racing heart. Her cardiologist suggested switching her routine to earlier in the day, and the change made a world of difference. If you enjoy nighttime movement, opt for gentle stretching, slow walks, or calming yoga. Save the cardio for the daylight hours when your body is better equipped to handle it. Next up, let's focus on